Hello designers and welcome back to another Affinity Designer tutorial. In today's video we are entering the world of fashion where we're going to design a coat, kicking things off with sketching out our concept using a pencil brush. We'll then go on to create a vector version. I will then show you how to create a Houndstooth repeating pattern, and we will use that to create a style that we can easily apply to any design in just one tap. There'll be lots of tips and tricks along the way, so let's begin. So we're at the very first step of the tutorial, and in this step we're going to be sketching out our idea in pencil and then going on from there. A couple of things to note: any shortcut I use will pop up on the bottom left hand corner like that. And also, if you are following along with me, the size of my artboard is 1500 pixels squared. So what's the first thing you do after creating your artboard? Well, I like to name it. So I've named it Sketch Idea. You can see here in the layers panel, and you can see it above the artboard there. And inside there is a pixel layer. We'll get onto that in a minute. But the first thing you do after creating your artboard is head on up to Pixel Persona. So we're going to click on that. In this persona, we're going to be sketching in pencil. First thing you're going to do is click on the brush tool, or you can just click on B, the shortcut. So the next thing we're going to do is assign a pencil to this paintbrush. So head on up to the brushes tab in the top right, and under pencils here, I've just chosen mechanical pencil 4B. You can choose whatever you want. So click on that. And the next thing you're going to want to do is choose your color. So I already have a pixel layer here, so I'm just chosen black there. And the last thing you're going to do is go up to the context toolbar and just change your flow to 30%. That's what I've done. So you're ready to start sketching. You won't have a pixel layer yet, but when you start drawing, one will appear. Or you can head down here and add pixel layer. Click on that and you see one will appear, and then you can start painting on that. So anyway, my pixel layer is highlighted and I'm ready to start painting. I've got half of a jacket drawn out here and I'm gonna finish it off. So the first thing I'm gonna want to do is create a pocket here. So I'm just gonna put one at a slight angle like this, and I'll just build it up. Doesn't have to be perfect, remember. So we're just doing the sketch at this point, and then we're going to create a vector version. You feel free to make mistakes at this point. It's all about being creative. The next thing I want to do is have like a stand-up collar, because I think they look really cool. So maybe about here. And I'll just put a little curvature on that, like that. Yeah, something like that will do. Maybe I could go out a little bit more like here. Okay, so that's the collar done. And the next thing I'm gonna do is add a piece of fabric here just to make it look better. So I'm just gonna draw out something. Look how messy I am. Wow. I am not a fashion designer, just so you know. I'm just playing around with Affinity. So I'll make something kind of like this. I'm pretty happy with that. I wouldn't mind adding a button in the middle. That's the little slit where the button will go. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this and flip it around so we have the other side. So I'm going to head on up to the move tool up here, which is V. Look, I can move it around now. But the thing I'm going to do now is just chuck a guide in the center so I can see where the center of the document is. Something to note, up here I have snapping turned on. And if you want to know what snapping options I have ticked, there you go. How do I get this guide? Well, if I just go over here to where the measurement is, I just click from there and drag out, and look, it's just snapped into the center there. So what I'm going to do now is just grab this pixel layer, and then I'm going to press Command C, Command V, that's copied it. And then I'm going to head up to the transform and click flip horizontal. And then I'm just going to hold down Shift, click and drag, and you can see that yellow line. That means I'm dragging in a perfect straight line there. I wouldn't mind if both of them were slightly closer to each other, so I'm just going to use the arrow keys on my keyboard just to bring it a little bit closer. And then I'm going to grab the other side as well, so I'm going to hold down Shift and click, so both of them are selected. I'm just going to bring it into the center like that. I just want to erase this little part here. I'm going to click on the erase brush. There we go. I'm just going to erase that. And then I'm going to click back on my brushes, and I'm just going to draw a little circle here because this will be my button. So that's the sketch complete. Let's move on to the next step. Now that we've completed our sketch idea, we're going to create a vector version of it. So head on over to Designer Persona first, click on that. Now we're going to duplicate this artboard. Quick way of doing this is to just hold Shift, Command, click, and just drag it down. Then release it, and we have our duplicate. You don't want to get confused in the layers panel by having lots of the same name. So let's change this. So I'll double click on it there and just call it vector version. So I want to trace around this with the pen tool, but before I do that, I want to bring down the opacity of this because it's looking a bit dark. Now we're going to trace around it using the pen tool. So click P on the keyboard for the pen tool. And then we're going to choose up here in the colors panel, no fill, and we're just going to have a black stroke there. And I'm going to turn snapping off at this point. I'm just going to zoom in and I'm just going to click on the first point right here. So if you've watched my pen and node tool tutorial, you could probably skip this section, but if you haven't, then this is how you do this bit. So I'll just click and drag out like that. I'll get to about here and just click and drag a little bit. Around here, I'll probably make it a little bit sharper than it is in the sketch. And from this point, I'll just zoom out and I'll just click and drag from here. So at this point, I want it to be a sharp corner going up, but how do I do that? Well, I'm going to stay in the pen tool and I'm going to toggle between the node tool, which is up here, just by pressing a few simple keys. So over here is the handle. Obviously, this is the round circle means it's a smooth node, so I want it to be a sharp one. So I'm going to click on Option, and I'm going to hover over this handle, and you can see it changes. And I'm going to click once. Now it's a sharp node. So now I can click over here. I can just click once, and there's a straight line. And again, I will toggle to the node tool. I'll just press Command. So I'm still in the pen tool. Every time I press Command, it changes to this tool. So I could just click and drag that down. By the way, an easy way of doing it as well is just click once. It will turn out straight, hold down Command and drag inwards and you're done. So from here, I'm going to click to about this section here, click and drag in about there, and I'll keep doing the same around the whole document. So I'll click and drag down like that, and I'll do the same up here. Click and drag, and sometimes I just want to drag a little bit and let go, and although it's not matching up, I can go ahead and hold down Command and just drag the handle from this point forward, something like that. And then going up here, this looks a little bit long. So what I'm going to do is hold down Command, click and drag, but oh look, it's moving. I don't want that to happen. So I'll just press Command Z to go back a step. If I hold down Shift and Command and drag the handle, I can drag it up and down and it doesn't affect the rest of the line that we've got there. So I'll just drag it to about there and then I'll just click and drag here. So that looks about right to me. And then I'll just click and drag on the last point there. And that section is done. So let's concentrate on getting these bits complete. One of the ways you could do it is head on up to snapping, click on that, click anywhere here. And I want it to stop around here. I could just click and drag like that, click on Option, get rid of that handle, and then I can click where I think it will end here. But look, it's kind of like, oh, do you want it to be overlapping? If you were a perfectionist, you could do this, click and drag to finish off the shape here. So obviously it's going around there. How do we get rid of that? Well, using the shape tool is really handy in this scenario. This is selected. I will select the jacket as well. So I'll hold down Shift and select this jacket. Then I'll go on the shape builder tool, which is over here. Shortcut is S. Click on the action button, which is minus, and then just drag over it and it deletes it. So I'll click back on V, the move tool, and that's done. Okay, let's move up to the next section. Let's draw out the pocket. So I'll press P. I'll take snapping off now. Yeah, it looks about right to me. And then I'll toggle Command so I can bring this in slightly. I'll click on snapping again, actually. And it snaps to that line there. Something like that will do. And the next bit we'll do is the stand-up collar. So with snapping turned on, you see it kind of snaps to this stroke. So I can click once. I'll just click once here as well, and once down there. And I'll just do that. And we'll use the shape builder tool again. But before we do that, let's manipulate this line. So press Command, click and drag inwards like that. So it follows the same curvature as the bottom of the collar. Yeah, something like that's okay. Again, click on V, the move tool. We'll select this. We'll select the actual main coat. We'll press S for the shape builder tool. It's already on minus, but I don't want it this time because it's within there. So I will click on the plus button and then I will just click and that's it. So let's go ahead and make some of these parts black. So I want the collar, I want the pocket, and I want this piece of fabric down here all to be black. So up to the color tab, click on the fill tool, make it black. You don't want anything in the stroke tab there. So they're all black now. Let's go ahead and copy and paste this and flip it around. So at this point, I don't need the pixel layers anymore, so I'll just delete them. I'll just drag over everything and just bring it slightly closer to the surface using the arrow keys on my keyboard. Okay, now with them all selected, I'll press Command C, Command V, and then I'll flip it around. So head up to Transform, click Flip Horizontal, hold down Shift, click, and drag across like that. So the next thing we want is to chuck a button in there. That's right, chuck one in there. So let's go over to the ellipse tool, and I'll just go in and click and drag whilst holding Shift and Command to keep it a perfect circle. Okay, that's done. And now I'll just go to the pen tool and I'll just click once. Second time, I will get off the fill, get rid of the fill and create a black line for this bit. I'll make the stroke slightly bigger. Okay, so we've now vectorized our jacket, but there's one thing that we want to do first. So if I click on the left side and I go up to the color tab and I choose a color, let's say orange for now, the next step will require us to have both of these sides of the jacket as one. So when we apply our pattern to it, it will apply to both sides. So with this one selected, I'm going to select the other side. So I'm going to hold down Shift and click, and I'm going to go up to the Boolean operations. I'm just going to add them together. So now this is all one shape. And you can see the pocket is now hidden. Always remember, in your layers panel, it goes like this. Whatever's seen first is at the top. Anything underneath might be hidden. So you can just drag your jacket to the very bottom, and then all of the other shapes that you've drawn will be on top. Great stuff. Let's move on. Okay, now that we've completed our vector version, let's go ahead and make our pattern so that we can apply that pattern inside of the jacket. So you're going to zoom out and we're going to create a new artboard. So head on up to the artboard tool here and just click and drag anywhere like that. Doesn't matter about the size, because we're going to go down to the transform tool down here and we're going to click on width and we're going to type 1000. Then we're going to go to height and type 1000. And now we have a perfect square of 1000 pixels. Okay, so let's create a pattern called Houndstooth. But before we do that, let's just change the name of this artboard to Pattern Tile Houndstooth. Okay, so it's neatly labeled in the layer stack, so it's a lot easier for us to see what we're doing. So first things first, let's go ahead and grab our rectangle tool, and we'll just click and drag out like this. It's black at the moment. We can change all of this. So just drag it out till it snaps into the corner, drag the top left one, and now you can see it's 1000 pixels squared. We're going to make this white. It will become obvious why I've done that later when I start using the shape builder tool. Okay, so what we're going to do now is copy and paste this white square. So I'm going to press Command C, Command V. Now in the layers panel, you see there's two of them. I'm going to make this one black, and I'm going to hold the bottom left-hand corner, hold Shift, click, and drag. And I'm going to drag it until it snaps at 500. There we go, 500 pixels. I'll let go and I'll just click on the move tool here because we're going to copy this one and make it another white square. So hold down Shift, Command, click and drag across like that until it snaps into the bottom right corner. There we go. I will make this white. I know you can't see it now, but it will all make sense in a minute. So just follow along with me. The next thing we're going to do is create some lines going across. So I'm going to copy and paste this black square here. I'll just make it some other color for now, and I'll just drag that out like so, make it a bit skinnier. There are a number of ways of doing this with the move duplicate tool just by pressing enter, but we're not going to do it this way. So it's selected. What you do is press Command J. That's power duplicate. And if you just hold down Shift, click and drag until it snaps to the next point, that's one duplicate. So because we use Command J, we can press Command J again and it will duplicate that move that we just did. So we want 8 of these. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we've got 8 of them. In the layers panel, you can see these orange stripes. So I'm just going to head down here, hold down Shift, click so they're all selected. I'm just going to click and drag it down until it snaps into place and says 1000. Okay, great. Whilst they're all still selected, I'm going to rotate this 45 degrees. So hold down Shift, click, and rotate it to the right till it says 45 degrees. Perfect. Let go. They're all still selected. So now I will click on Shift, Command, and I will click on this section here, this little dot, and I will drag it out until it snaps again, and I will let go. Okay, so none of this is probably making sense yet, but it's going to now. So let's go ahead and make this black. And what we're going to do is everything within this artboard, see pattern tile houndstooth, we're going to click on the first one, hold Shift and click. So everything in this artboard is selected. We're going to press the shape builder tool. There it is. Click on that. The first thing we're going to do is trim these edges off. So I'm going to go up to the action button. I'm going to press minus, and I'll just click and drag across, let go, and it deletes those. I'll do the same with this to all of the sides until they're all gone. So the next thing I'm going to do is switch over to the action button. But before I do that, actually, if I leave all of them blank, I can just make my selections first. So I'm going to select this, and then I'm going to select these two kind of triangles. So that's one shape that I want. So I'm going to go ahead and click plus. Okay, I'll make my next selection, drag these, and I will click plus again. This one and this one here, and I will click on minus. And now these three here, I want to join them all up together. So I'll just click and drag around until they're joined up. Now I can press plus. And that is our shape done. I'll just click on the move tool. And in the layers panel, you see there are black and white layers. We just want to delete any white layer. So I'll delete this one and I'll delete this one. Okay, the reason I deleted the white ones is because we want everything white to be transparent. So if I head to my document setup and click on transparent background, you can see this checkerboard. That means all of this is transparent. We'll need that for when we create our style from this pattern. So let me just uncheck that again. Okay, so we have 3 layers here, and we're going to add them together as they're one layer. So go up to the Boolean operations, click on add, and now it's just one layer. You can see in the layers panel. But see, this selection box is like all skew if, and I don't want that. So the way to get rid of that, I mean, there is a way temporarily to go on select and cycle selection box. You see that? And then I've got my normal rectangle around there. But if I click away and click back on it, it comes back again. Apparently in a new update, they are going to set it so that the selection box is the same. But what I like to do in this scenario is head on up to separate curves up here in the geometry. So I click on that once, and now they're 3 pieces again. And then I click back on add in the Boolean operations, and you can see it's just now a perfect square. So at this point, you might be wondering, how do I know if this pattern is going to repeat perfectly? And if you've watched one of my previous tutorials, I go over this where I show you how to create a repeat pattern template. And I'll just show you that now. But if you have been following along everything I've been doing, it should work perfectly. But anyway, we're going to grab this layer here. We're going to copy it, Command C. And I'm just going to go over to my repeat pattern template. And in Artboard 1 here, this is where we'll place the tile. And you can see in the layers panel, it says symbol there. I'm just going to press Command V, and I'm going to drag the layer onto symbol. I'm going to let go. And you can see it repeats that tile over and over again. Don't worry about these white lines. When you go to export, they will not be there. It's just a way of identifying different sections of your design. So if you want to learn how to complete that, go ahead and check out the other tutorial. But for now, I'll delete this and I'll get on with the tutorial. So in this step, we're going to export our pattern tile to a PNG, and then we're going to load it up as a bitmap pattern fill in order for us to create styles. And that's the main reason we're doing this, okay? So the next thing we're going to do is choose Houndstooth tile, just the layer within the artboard. I'm going to head up to File, Export. We're going to choose PNG, and then we're going to select area is selection only. And you can see it's 1000 by 1000 pixels. The checkerboard in the background means there's transparent properties there. And I always click this button here, don't export layers hidden by export persona. Once you've done that, you're done. So I'm exporting this. I'm going to name it Houndstooth Pattern Tile, and I'm going to save it to my desktop. So the next thing we're going to do before we bring that in is create another artboard. So I'm just going to click and drag one out, maybe like this big here. It doesn't really matter. And for this one, we're going to put pattern versions. So we're going to create a few versions of this pattern so that we can easily apply it with different colors in the background, etc. So we'll start off by selecting the ellipse tool, and we'll head on over and just hold down Shift and Command to create a perfect circle. So now we're going to bring in that saved tile that we saved as a PNG. So we're going to click on the Move tool first. So we've got that selected. We're going to go over to Gradient tool, or press G on the keyboard. Go up to Type, and then you see where it says Bitmap. We're going to click on that. Now it's going to show the desktop. So here we go, Houndstooth Pattern Tile, that's the one we want. We're going to click Open, and you can see these handles appear. We can see if I drag that in, make it smaller or bigger, we can twist it around, but for now I'm just going to make it about this big here. Okay, so one thing to note, once you've applied your bitmap, obviously we've inserted a PNG in here and it's got a transparent background. So if we head up to the Appearance panel, top right here, Appearance. By the way, if yours is not here, head on up to Window and then Appearance, click on that and it will pop up, okay? So in here you can see we have no stroke, and we have no fill. What we can do, we can add a fill in the background. So over here, add fill, I'll just click on that and it's added a fill. If I drag this fill to the bottom and then I choose white, now we have a white background in there. So that one is done because I want a white version. So I'll click on the Move tool, V, and I'm going to make some copies of this, maybe 2 more copies. So I'm going to press Command J to duplicate it. I'm going to drag it down. I'm going to press Command J again, and it's going to duplicate it. That's Power Duplicate in action again. Okay, so the second one here, let's change the background of this. So in our Appearance panel, head up, and let's choose a different color for the background. Something a bit like that. Let's move on to the next one. Again, Appearance panel, choose a color. I'll choose something different. Okay, that is done. So we have 3 versions of this. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create a new style. But before I do that, I'll just show you actually how it works. So I could go over here to our vector version and I could click on it, and then I could click on the gradient tool, and then I could click on bitmap and I could add it this way. And you know, you have to go through the process of doing this and then going to the Appearance panel and adding a color. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to press Command Z. And this is going to be a quick way of you speeding up your design process, okay? The next thing we're going to do is head on over to our Styles tab here. There it is, Styles. And there's the default styles here. We don't want any of this. We want to create a new category. So I'm going to click on Add New Category. And we're going to put in here patterns for clothes. So I've added that, patterns for clothes, okay? Now that that is there, I'm going to select 1, 2, 3 of these. And then I'm going to go over to this burger menu again under the Styles tab. And I'm going to click on Add Style from Selection. And now you see we have 3 styles. You can right click on each one and rename them, but we're not going to do that at this point. So now what we can do is we can go ahead and select our jacket, and then we can click on style. Let's say style 2. Oh, I don't like that. Style 3. I don't like that. Style 1. Obviously, this one doesn't have a stroke on it. So remember, you can always add the stroke to it. So you can always head up here, add a black stroke, and then you can say how big you want the stroke by clicking on this. And then that's done. Or we can go back to the one we had before. So yeah, each time you create something, so let's say we want to add one that always has a stroke, we can move these up slightly. I can create another one here. I can add a stroke to it in the Appearance panel. And then from that, I can right click even here, and I can go all the way down and I can click on Create Style. And And you see now it's under style 4. So if I click on our jacket and I click on style 4, now it has a stroke applied to it. So I've gone ahead and created another pattern tile, and the reason I haven't shown you is because I created it much the same way that we created the houndstooth. So you can see here black square, white square, and then some stripes, and it's the same thing, but it's blue square, white square, stripes. Made exactly the same way, and I went through the same process. So you create your pattern tile, you export it as a PNG, and then you create a circle over here, and then you go to the gradient tool, click on Bitmap, and bring in your PNG. Then you can go up to appearance and add your fill underneath if you like. I just wanted to show you this because on the red one here, I have the fill layer. I mean, they're both fill layers, but the bottom one here is our pattern. And I've added the fill layer, the red, above. And I've just set the blend mode to multiply. So do have a play around with this section. Okay. And then from there, I added them both to our styles category, pattern for clothes. Remember we made that earlier. So in this final section, we'll just simply apply our styles that we've created to each of these clothing items or handbag. So starting with the skirt, we'll just choose, let's say, style 5. Sometimes it'll look a little bit squished like this, but no problem. You can just go ahead and hit the gradient tool or press G on the keyboard. These handles will appear. You can head up to Reset Transform, click on that, and then you can grab the handles and resize as you see fit. Okay, moving on to the handbag. Let's choose Style 2, and sometimes this will also happen. I'll press G on the keyboard to try and resize it, and then you'll do this, and then you're like, oh no, there's a gradient going on there. Although it may look cool, I don't want that. So I'll press Command Z to go back. If you look up here in the Appearance panel, you can see that Fill, there's a little white dot next to this. That means that that is selected right now. So if you go up to this one, this is where our pattern is. If I click on that and then I go down, I can now resize. Okay, so that's looking okay. Remember, you can mess around with the blend modes as well. So you can just cycle through, see what might fit you. Okay, that one looks okay. Great. Moving on to the next one. Let's choose style 3. And again, the dot is on the fill underneath. So I just switch over and I just resize like that. We could always drag it on top. Let's play around and we can see what the blend modes will do with this. Yeah, some pretty funky results going on here. I'll just leave it on one of them. Maybe that one there. And the last one, let's go with the classic white. So I'll just click on that and it looks great as it is, I think, but I want to add a stroke. So I'll just go up here in the appearance panel and I'll just bring it up slightly like that. And in fact, I will add a stroke on this one too. And there we go. Once you've got styles, it's very quick to apply them. So you can create many of these categories, and if you don't want to lose that, and let's say you want to save it, give it to a friend or whatever, you could go to the hamburger menu and you can click on Export Styles, name it, and then that's it. You can export them. That marks the end of this tutorial. If you found it useful, please let me know in the comments section below and give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment if you have a question as well. Always willing to hear, and I try to respond to as many people as I can. Thanks for your time and catch you on the next one.